This is a live on the road with Uncle Phil again. I'm glad you all are back with me. Um, During my travels, it gives me some time of great clarity, time to really think without all the noise. I don't have my children with me, don't have my wife with me at these times, and it gives me time to really hone in and focus. Today's topic, which we've put in the thumbnail, if you've watched, the reason why I brought up the articles, or I put in the title, the thumbnail topic of the record number of companies that are hiring robot workers. When I ask, are small businesses going to succeed or fail in this time? One of the main reasons why I'm asking this question is for the small business owners such as myself. When you automate everything, or when you automate as much as you can, it's very attractive and seductive to automate a lot in your business. The one problem I have with that is that the automation takes away knowledge of how you run and operate your business. Now, there are certain things that you may automate because they're pain points, but in my case, when you're running a legacy business, when you are looking to create an avenue for hiring your children, and if you're a business owner, I don't know why it would not be a legacy avenue that you're running, or a legacy business that you're running or operating out of. The question begs to the efficiency of what you're doing. When you're creating a legacy business, all aspects of your business you need to know and understand to the level of mastery. When you know your business down to the one nut or the one bolt, pause for that one, but when you know it down to the nitty gritty, to the last, every little aspect of the way your business operates, you're now able to teach your children, the next generation of business owners, the business from the ground up. No house that has a good foundation can a bad foundation can weather any storm. So again, when you're pushing for the business, when you're expanding a business, a small business we're talking about, how do you teach your children things that you've delegated or abdicated away and never took time to master? I'm not talking about learning, because there are things that I've learned in my business that I started doing years ago that I don't do now currently. My business practice has evolved. When you are looking, the reason why it's evolved is because of the fact that my business has grown with me be working in my business and also working on my business. The business has evolved, and I've been at the head of every change that's happened within my organization, my company. So now, with developing, having a DUNS number, which I successfully had a few days ago, I've hired my daughter into my business who does the accounts receivable in the business. I'm able to work side by side with her to teach her from the business from the ownership standpoint. Owning a business top down. It's different when you own a multi-million dollar company. And even then, I would wonder how many, it's not the old days of the Rockefellers where companies are just passed down from father to son and it stays within the family. Many family corporations, the family is basically part of the board, and that's when you get to a very high level. But again, the main points of the company being run are not by the heirs. I've just used some examples that, does Paris Hilton have the capacity, and I'm asking only, does she have the capacity to run the Hilton organization in the same facet that the patriarchal, was the her father has done? Does do they have the same capacity to run a business the same way at the head of a business, making the decisions as the CEO, the person who's built the business from the ground up? Do they have the same capacity? And a lot of times I'm going to go ahead and say no. So when I'm looking at small business owners, their businesses are run by board members, people who are all within the business, and what they have is a large majority share of the company. At that point, the game changes to shareholder ownership. But for us smaller business owners, the groundwork, the fight is truly in being able to pass on your business to teach your children. and to actually teach them to be able to run, operate, and build a business that you're running efficiently. So when you're gone, your children can now grow or maintain the minimum, maintain or grow your business. If you're using things like artificial intelligence, chat GPT, which does has its benefits, I'm not talking about that, but again, if you don't know your business down to the ground level, how it works, how it operates, what line of sight do you have over things that could or could not go wrong? What ability do you have to diagnose or change or evolve process or workflow processes that are not working in your business when it's automated? And again, 5, 10 years from now, as your business is growing and changing, you are no longer aware of the things because they're now being run by AI or computers. And I'm going to connect that to the story when I come back to that. The World Economic Forum, I looked online and I saw this, and because I'm trying to think about what I actually wanted to talk about. I don't want to come up here and just babble, but this is something that connects very, very much so to questions I have about how my children will operate. You got to understand that degrees don't determine outcomes. There are many people with degrees. There are many people with bachelor's and business degrees. There are many nurses that I know that they don't do nursing anymore. Just because you have a degree doesn't mean you're going to get the same quality of life or the same economic outcome. When you're working for a big corporation, you're trying to climb a corporate ladder that has no loyalty to you. You're a number. You're a series of zeros and nines that equate to an employee number. And when you're done working for the organization, or the organization decides that a corporation decides that they don't want to, they don't want to exist anymore, they get taken over, they get sold, they do layoffs, what we're seeing now, you're part of how many managers people have worked tirelessly for a corporation, not a small business, different, and they've been laid off now. And the Meta, the Amazon, the many other companies that are laying down, or the second round of layoffs done by Meta, Amazon, many of the other corporations that are downsizing. When the world contracts, when we go through downturns, what ends up happening is the business owners, the corporate board members, they're going to take their profits, and what they're going to do is they're going to cut out all the fat in the business, or the corporations, locations, or whatever else. But that equates to the human lives. That equates to the people who are at the ground level, you and I. When we're working for these corporations, our lives, the trajectory of where our lives are going, have now been changed. So what do you do? Is there any successful future working for a corporation that you have no idea where the heading of the company is going? You have no idea of where the decisions the owners are making. You're simply there as you're represented by numbers that show that you're contributing to what the larger colony of the corporation is building. You're enriching the corporate and board members and or shareholders in that aspect. Not that that's a bad thing, but again, you have to understand is that the world does go up and down in ways of economic stability and economic instability. So when that happens, you're dedicating and making life, family decisions from a off of your position working within a corporation, and you don't know where the corporation is heading. That's this akin to when you fly in an airplane. You're making decisions on where you're going to stop in the plane, but you're not flying it. You're in row 34D, and you're the one saying, well, maybe this looks like a good spot. We'll land here. You're not flying the plane. You're making life decisions when you're not in the driver's seat. So does that lead to long-term outcomes of success for you when layoffs and downsizing happens? No, it doesn't. Usually end up on an unemployment line, or you have to find you have to take on increased workload. You now are looking for other jobs. You may even have to uproot your family and find another location to give you the same economic outcomes that you were getting at the current position before the downsize happened. So again, I'm asking, at this point with the automation, and it's great for companies because they probably have a lot of people in there who do nothing at work. We all know someone else that we have to pick up the slack for, and the true hustle and bustlers in every job. You probably got about 60% of the people who are hardworking, and the other 40 could just they could be those jobs could be handled by the 60%. Well, the other 40% is used to not burn out the 60%. That's the real ways a business works. That's why you have people who you know shouldn't be nurses, shouldn't be doctors, shouldn't be lawyers, shouldn't be anybody in any position of any company. There are people that you know for a fact should not be there. And the reason why they're there is because they can keep the company going just to the point where the actual hustlers go back to work. I mean, that's just the case in point. I'm reading an article from the World Economic Forum. U.S. companies ordered more robots than ever in the first 9 months of 2021 as they struggle to recruit staff. So, this inadvertently, humans are contributing to the environment where I've said this before in my other videos, humans are going to contribute to their own downfall for the tightening, for the lack of economic or upward mobility. Just getting a degree is not enough. I've had these interviews I've done with Alex Coombs over there at About You Outreach, and it's great that they're focusing their students on something other than just sports. But again, when you're getting degrees are great. They're always a fallback. That's a stream of income as a degree. But the degree or the career doesn't give you multiple streams of income. You have to actually go and work another job to get another stream of income. And when you do that, you now have to manage this thing called time that you don't have. You can't clone yourselves. So again, you have no ability to create income velocity for yourself. And income velocity means where you are making more money, doubling, tripling your income year after year without the need to go out and do extra work. This is what raises are for. But we know that raises do not keep up with the economic inflation, cost of goods, services. You actually have to do more to regain some of that with that economic raise that you're getting, the income velocity that you're getting in percentages. It's not anything, no one's getting 25, 30% raise unless you're an executive or you're a board member or you're a CEO. You have some kind of title in the business where you're at the executive level. You're not getting 20, 30% raises. Most of us are getting a 10% raise would be great. And the thing about it is that we're trained to be happy with these little crumbs that we get sprinkled. Most of us are afraid of taking on the role of becoming a small business owner because we simply fear the risk. We're afraid to go out there and create something of our own, to build a product, to build a brand, to build a business, to fail simply because it's more comfortable getting a paycheck. It's hiding where it's safe. And the problem with that is that the world is changing right underneath you, and you don't realize that you're going to get pushed out into the wild anyway. My whole point is that you should be doing it now, because, excuse me, while you do have the job, while you do have the income, while you do have the ability while you do have the opportunity. Excuse me. I tell my wife all the time, and my 40s, I'm 42 now. In my 50s and 60s, I won't have the same energy that I did when I was 40 or even 50. I don't have the same desire to work out like I used to when I was in my 20s. I don't want to sprint down a field or be fast. I don't care about that anymore. It's not a desire in my life to go out there and show that I can run 100 meters in 10 seconds. So your life will change, your needs will change. This says here that and I'm continuing on from the World Economic Forum. And again, who else better to give us this clear indication of what the world people, what they're moving the world to do than the World Economic Forum? Can we just say the New World Order is in effect? Economic disruptions caused by COVID-19 and increased remote working has accelerated the technical uptake rates. Cloud computing, big data, and e-commerce adoption is expected to continue to grow in the coming years, displacing more workplace processes. So when they do more cloud computing and big data and e-commerce, you don't need the physical human presence inside the facilities. So you might need one remote worker for what three people were doing. That's three jobs that now become one. I've said this before. And again, I'm going to go back to my main point when I connect to small businesses. Will they survive? Small businesses do not have, for the most part, the capital to compete on the level of, these big box, these US companies that are doing this. I've seen, if you look at any of your small town shops, the little, I call them trinket stores, but ones that sell jewelry, one that sell, clothing. Like, I'm talking about your local stores, not your big name brand stores, not your Walmarts or your Targets, anything else like that. The little small shops, the old local stores that were there. How are they going to compete with US companies doing cloud computing and remote working, where now they have one position that has replaced three positions? When you start to do that out and factor that out in some kind of exponential point, you're going to have less jobs needed to run a corporation or a company. When that happens, now you're faced with another issue, is that just like with the what is that, the Michigan Motor Company, where you used to have lines of workers building cars. Once they replaced that with robotics, you need a few humans in the factories to create products anymore. So we're doing that now in certain industries where that this is upticking, and I'm going to get to that in a little bit. Robotics development has long prompted concerns that machines will take jobs from humans, and that is happening. But in the US, robot orders have hit an all time high as many companies struggle to recruit staff. So a lot of times people don't want to work for a penny or a dollar. And now all of a sudden, these companies have needs. People think, and it's funny because I think a lot of common lay people, they think that the companies are just going to go out of business, or they're going to raise their prices. You're going to raise the minimum wage, and this probably is going to take us into a different area. Why would they raise the minimum wage and give you more money when they can start replacing us with robots? I mean, when this gets to the level of having, and I've shown you all videos of a restaurant having the cook, the robot arm was taking the food, cooking the food, and I think it was White Castle. I think it was a video on White Castle where the robot was cooking the food and bagging it up and putting it in for now a reduced staff. That probably would be three or four people, maybe. I don't know, worked in a restaurant or a fast food chain, but that's probably one or two people's job to do that. And what you now have is that job now being done by a robot. So that's two jobs gone. Now you got the person who's going to ring you up and the person to clean up. And what, you might have three people working in the restaurant anymore now. Once they replace that internal staff, at that point, I mean, you're talking about a restaurant that may have 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 workers. Now you only need cleaning crews. You only need someone to clean up the restaurant, to maintain the cleanliness for, people coming in there and using the restroom facilities, picking up discarded food. Once they have that, I mean, it's game over. Where will our children, grandchildren work at when there is no more fast food places to work at this point? Small businesses will be your answer. That will be your new fast food chains, your new entry level working that will be available for the youth at that point. And again, where when these businesses exist, these small businesses that at some time in the future are now the new environments for teenage workforce. Again, you're talking about pennies on the dollar. You'll be lucky if you can get minimum wage at that point. I mean, honestly, if I had a brick and mortar store and I had robots, I'd rather make investment in the robots than the human staff. Robots are not going to call out sick. Robots are not going to, workman's comp. There's no insurance. There's no payroll tax deduction. I just have to invest in a robot, buy the robot, and eventually the robots will be cheaper. But it's a one-time actually, and I can write off that investment because again, it's an expense. So for my business, yeah, that just gave you some game right there. You know why they're doing that? Is because humans cost more than robots because you can write off a robot. I mean, if you own a small business and you've ever done any, you bought any subscription on an AI to help you do ad copy writing, hell, even write a book for you, it's been 100% write off. So they can just write off the whole expense of the robot. You can't do that when you hire a human. You got to do payroll and pay that person. Why would you do it? And what benefit? Bag up some fries. Okay. Why can't a robot do that? Why do you need a human there doing it? They're sick, they're coughing. If there's another pandemic, you don't need to worry about because the robot's contactless. You don't have to shut down in a pandemic. Factories and industrial concerns in North America recorded a record 29,000 robots, 29,000 robots during the first 9 months of 2021, a 37% increase in the previous year, according to the Association for Advancing Automation, A3. Fixed function robots, which means they have a specific function, take this here, move this over to here. That's a fixed function. Become a common feature in factory production lines. You've seen this in the auto industry. Now they're moving into other ones. They help manufacture everything from cars to now food products. It's a shame, man. And this is going to be happening all over the world. Along this, with advances in autonomous technology, which means and it doesn't need a human to be managing it, have helped fuel the global robot boom with widespread applications ranging from AI-enabled mechanical fryers, which I've discussed before, to autonomous industrial plant inspection units. Like now, you don't even need them to go in and inspect a industrial plant. So again, now we're looking at they're pushing these robots into the workforces there. I believe I have another article from from the Washington I'm sorry, the New York Times, where they have robots now doing waitressing. I mean, they're bringing out the food. The cooks cook the food, put them on the serving trays. The robot brings it over to the table and serves the people their food. That's it. You don't need waitresses anymore. What will be jobs for our children? I mean, they won't. Now you don't have to serve. You don't have to serve customers. You don't have to. I mean, the first place you're going to see this happen is a fast food restaurant. Once they do that, it just becomes mainstream at every fast food restaurant. You don't have to deal with, issues with cleanliness. None of that stuff. When that happens, what do we do then? What will our children? What will be the workforce then? Like I've said before, once you eliminate fast food workers, once that workforce gets done, fast food workers, the next level becomes the bottom. And that's what I said. Small businesses will be the next entry point for, cheap labor. Will they survive? And my point in saying all of this is that the more you do not know how to do every little aspect of your business, I do my own accounting. I've taught my daughter how to do the accounts receivable. When you're building a business, and you're growing a small business, in order for your small business to grow and operate, you have to be able to do all the little facets that exist within your business. You got to know that. Because again, if you have an employee, or let's say Chat GPT goes down, let's say AI goes down, let's say there's a big old EMP. How do you run your business when you've not done anything in your business? I'm not saying you got to do every writing of every aspect in your business, but again, I don't automate my billing. I do my own billing. I mean, there may come a point in the future where I may automate it or I may do it that way, but I'm automating with my children. Getting my daughter to do the accounts receivable. Soon she'll do our expense accounts. Then she'll move on to other financial accounts that she can operate within the business. What do you need a degree for this? Again, if you think you need a degree to do your own business accounting, I mean, there's obviously making mistakes, but do you need a degree to do your own business accounting when you're learning from someone else who knows how to do accounting? Once you know how to do your own business accounting and you do it correctly, you should be able to teach your children how to do this. You don't hire your family members. Well, that family members who are competent people. But again, we're sending them off to get degrees to work in corporations who are basically waiting for the time that they can transition us to having more robot function working in businesses, and it's already happening. I don't mind sending my children out there to get a degree, but again, the degrees now become very high focused, and even then, it's not secure. Some of the highest fields with robot order growth have been metals, food and consumer goods. Okay, anybody now working at any kind of distribution plants where they send out bag groceries or grocery products, those canned foods, you don't even, now they have the robots loading them up, boxing them up, sealing them up. They can put them into the truck. You don't need humans to do them anymore. With Elon Musk and doing the autonomous truck driving ones, as soon as that come out, so now you don't need truck drivers. I mean, thank God we don't have the infrastructure yet. You know, we might be complaining about infrastructure, but thank God we don't have the infrastructure built up as well to already have autonomous vehicles running all across the United States with extreme proficiency. You would have job loss without the wazoo. With job loss comes crime, obviously, which means that neighborhoods become even more tighter on the desirable neighborhoods, become more expensive because they become more desirable, which means that, again, economic upward mobility becomes harder to achieve. And in this just keep on with the with and what this does is that it puts money back into the corporations. They're able to reclaim more money when you have more robots working in your corporation. You write off the robot. A person gets injured in a factory, they got to go on workman's comp. They could potentially sue, can cost you millions. Robot breaks down, gets crushed by something, compactor makes a mistake, throw the robot away, replace it with a new one, write off the depreciation or the expense for not having it. It's tons of write off thing. I've done tons of videos on showing you guys how to write off business expenses. But again, will the small businesses survive at this point? That's my question to the business owners out there. Like myself, this is why you have a person who is doing the actual action. Automotive component, 22% increase. Semi and electronics, photonics, 26% increase. That means that, and here's the other kicker, is that the areas where the autonomous growth has not been into, has been into life sciences, pharma, and biomed. Negative 38%. Because again, there's some part about dealing with human life that a robot just can't process, which means if you want your children to go in something that they can at least live to be old enough to work and get some survivability in this world, it's definitely not going to be in the food industry. It may not even be into electronics per se. You know, IT with Chat GPT, anyone who's working in IT, your days are numbered. Chat GPT, all the AI, eventually will be able to replace all the IT people. Anyone who's working remote, there's a potential that you might only need to, what do they call them, regionalize those positions. Because if you got a whole bunch of automation happening with Chat GPT or any other AI diffusion, then you don't need the same amount of people running or working in those days. You only need one person to supervise what the bots are doing online, or maybe 10 people to do it where you had a company of 50. You just reduce your labor force and increase your profits. And maybe even increase your profits more because you have your work production or output increasing because humans need to sleep. So again, what I'm saying is that where does the small business owners, where are you going to be successful at? And the key lies in being able to train your children up, because again, what you can do to combat your lifespan, because we have a limited lifespan. You could die in 10 years, but if you train your children up, your business still can run. Can't do that if you don't. Again, there's a separation between a small business and a corporation. I'm not a corporation. I'm a small business owner. So again, how does my business survive if I don't teach it down? Robots could be doing 40% of your chores by 2035. It's a very short time from now. You already seen robots cutting grass. Now you don't even need landscaping companies at some point. I'm going to go to the New York Times article and I'll close this up. But again, I want you to ask these questions again. If you're not training your children to do areas in your business, if you're not training your children to work within your company, giving them small role tasks that they can work up to. Like again, my daughter doing the accounts receivable. All she's doing is basically adding numbers, which she can do at near 9 years old. And if anything, she's practicing her addition more, and actually she's doing checkbooking, if you will, in a small capacity. Her brother's watching her do this job. He's taking an interest. He wants to know when he's going to be able to do it. And again, we see now why I'm doing this. I'm leaving cookie crumbs on what you do in your business. It doesn't matter what your business is. Your children, your kids, if you have children, if you have family, nieces or nephew, talk to your siblings and say, hey, can I get them into the business? If you know someone, if you have a family member with an actual business that is successful, you should talk to them and say, hey, is there any way I can get my child working your business for some small capacity, a trainable position, something they can get paid to do? A lot of times parents, we think of just simply that, that we need to save money for our children's future. We can use our children to work in someone's business, like my daughter's working in mine, and she could be getting paid $50 a month just to add. I would love my siblings to come to me and say, hey, what can my kid be doing for you in your business to help this, help that? I mean, your children making money as an employee, as a family business, why can they not be getting paid outside of the tax liabilities, tax implications that you can? But again, I used to deliver papers when I was a kid. Why can't our children not do that and help take over these pain points that we're giving AI? We're paying AI when we could be paying our children, and they could be saving that money learning how to operate and building businesses. This, according to New York Times, I'm going to get into this, and I have it in there. The two women taking the plate from their breakfast plate, sitting in a restaurant. They're actually getting their breakfast served. It says when Florida gave restaurants the green light to reopen indoor dining this year, restaurateurs like Carlos Guzitao were euphoric. They were able to resuscitate their businesses. Many were on life support after the shutdown, but quickly learned it was a tough to coax workers back. It was a crisis. We couldn't find anyone, even a major job fair drawing dozens of restaurants and hotel owners offering more than 1,000 jobs in May was disastrous. That means they're not finding the workers. We had 40 employers and only 4 people showed up. It was bizarre. The employers thought we were in candid camera. They turned to robotics now, bringing in the Servi, Servi robot in July to one of its restaurants. Servi uses cameras and laser sensors to carry plates of food from the kitchen to the tables in the dining room, where the waiter then transfers the plate to the customer table. The robot costs $990, about $1,000 a month, including installation and support, which is a total 100% write-off for the business as an expense. Now, I'm telling you for a fact, having a workman's comp or a worker being injured for something in that will cost you much more than having a $999 robot. Survey saved wait staff and busters from having to run back and forth to the kitchen, and gave overworked servers more time to schmooze with customers, serve more tables, which led to higher tips. Exactly right, for sure. But now you do not need more servers. You don't need more waiters at that time. And in most cases, you might be able to run a whole place with about 4, maybe, depending on how big your restaurant is. In the first 2 hours, the customers were amazed. Here we go. He added that the surveys have now been added to the company's 5 other full-service restaurants. That's crazy. Basically, all this is just a little 3-tier thing with something that moves on the bottom. And what you take them hot old plates, you put them right on the top, and the robot goes up there. The only thing they can't do right now is traverse stairs, and thank God for that. Mr. Guzitao is among the growing number of restaurants and hotel owners who are turning to robotics during this labor shortage. Robots don't call in sick, don't request raises, and do jobs like frying and cleaning that workers don't like. So again, in this economy, in this society where people now only want to do the jobs that look good, that make them feel good, but they don't want to do any actual hard labor. Okay, great. You created a business need, and now the business owners are going to fulfill it. And what they're doing is not going to give you these jobs back. You better hope there's an EMP or some kind of solar flare that comes and busts out an electrical grid, and we can go back a few hundred years in order to get people back into doing jobs, including many robotic companies like Miso Robotics, Bear Robotics, Peanut Robotics, Nightscope. These companies are only going to get more wealthy. They say they've seen huge spikes in inquiries for those robotics since the pandemic hit. Miso is getting 150 inquiries a week. That's questions or interest. And Flippy uses artificial intelligence, sensors, computer vision, robotic arms to fry food fast. We talked about that, shown that in my White Castle video, like French fries and chicken wings. Shit. Brothers, please don't tell me they go the chicken wings. The robot, which costs about $3,000 per month, including maintenance, identifies the food, senses the oil temperature, and monitors the cook time, which means more than likely you will never get your food um, undercooked. And this is all what I talked about. New York Times is covering this in here. And again, they don't need to pay raises. They don't need to call in. No one calls in sick. There's no, do you know how much money it would save a businesses? You'll have thriving companies, but again, they don't need humans. They need better robots. And that's what it's going to come to, which means that we're your not every if the average if 80 or 75% of the population makes under 50,000, right? What are they going to be making when these robots become more of a prominent thing in society? You're going to have futuristic. That's why I put the video in there with these mega cities with these the outskirts being all run down, because what's only going to happen is that the all the businesses are going to contract into locations where they have everything going. They're going to make the humans come to them. They don't need to be where the humans are, because if you're on the outskirts, basically you can be on your own. You can farm, you can do everything. You're not going to have the convenience. And that's what we're becoming, more conveniently lazy ass people. The CDC estimates that 48 million people get sick, 128,000 are hospitalized, and 3,000 die a year from foodborne illnesses. Using robot like Flippies improves the kitchen's cooking accuracy, consistency, reducing harm for error that could lead to food contamination issues. Right, that's unless, but they can't sense if something's wrong with the product. Like, one thing the robot can't do is actually tell you if food is bad when they're getting it. They can't tell you if something seems spoiled or smells wrong, or if there's a piece of rat doo-doo on top of your food. You're just going to cook it. Here we go again. I did this video. White Castle started testing Flippy in this Merrillville, what is that, Indiana restaurant, late 2020. The leisure and hospitality industry saw a 50% drop in employment in 2020, a dip of 8.3 million workers. That's far away from being the worst shock in the industry on record, dating back to the Great Depression. Bear Robotics, which makes the Survey robotic, has seen the demand skyrocket. Burnout's becoming a very big problem for restaurant staff. Burnout's becoming a problem in hospitals too. I'm really wondering where they're going to do with that one. Peanuts Robotic, a startup, makes a robot that cleans and sanitizes restrooms. Peanut Robotics makes a robot that cleans and sanitizes restrooms. Salt Bakes Robotics makes Whiz, which vacuums floors. It's coming, people. It's coming. Although Peanut, that's the one that cleans the restrooms, is in a prototype phase, it hasn't stopped hotel chains, offices, restaurants from requesting a robot. We're not actively marketing, but people keep finding us, which means that they're coming to them. I have a demand for hundreds of them right now, because again, you want to. How many times you go into a bathroom that's not been cleaned? A robot can clean literally the bathroom after every one use. The more efficient they become, the longer the robots are able to clean the restrooms, the quicker they're going to become efficient. There will come a day where literally a robot will be able to clean a restroom toilet facility almost instantaneously after the person exits and a new person walks in. Basically, like, everyone has a brand new toilet to pee and poop on. Makes robotics that use artificial intelligence, video, and two-way audio to patrol outdoor and indoor areas. It uses imaging, license plate recognition, and other software. There's also alert button on a robot that allows the caller to speak directly to someone. The demand has been particularly high for casinos and office buildings. Now you don't even need security workers. Up, here we go. Maker Shaker, based in Italy, makes robotic bartenders whose arms can measure, mix, shake, and pour, and even garnish cocktails. That'll be great because you don't have to have somebody over here under mixing it, mixing your drinks. But again, I wanted to know who's inputting the specifics on the amounts to make an actual drink. The Tipsy Robot, a bar that opened in Vegas in 2017, used Maker Shaker's robotic arms. Its general manager, Victor Reza, we'll just go with that, said the robot was a godsend when COVID hit. It was getting about 120 applications back in 2019 for bartenders, but in April 21, the same ad took 3 weeks to get only 14 applications. And of the 14, no one showed up for interviews. Robots don't call in sick, don't ask for raises. They can break down. As a result, the restaurant is at the mercy of the robotics company to respond quickly. Sometimes a software glitch can be fixed remotely, but hardware issues usually require an on-site repair. Most companies will say repairs will take within 24 hours, but not always. That's the only one thing holding us back, is the newness of the robotics industry at this point. So in short, folks, what I'm going to say is that you should the summation of this video is the concern for small businesses. If you're a small business owner, you're in real estate, anything else, get your kids young, get them into work, get them into working for your business, building your business so they can help expand your business. You may not be making $1 million, but get your kids involved along the way. Hell, shoot videos of them working within your business to build up some kind of, attraction or attention to get your local community involved. They have friends. They're going to talk about it with their friends. Their friends have parents who own other businesses. Anyway, folks, you can always donate to the show, $ Ancestry Lands on Cash App and Ancestry Lands on YouTube. I'm sorry, on Venmo. Again, folks, these live streams are sponsored by our sponsor, Every Home Life. Every Home Life, where you can go and buy amazing home products. I've shown you before, I'm on the road with Uncle Phil, but during the home series, you see me using the projection lamp, which I really do like. I think they're really great businesses. They have a actual discount code that I will put down into the description box. You can use that discount code for up to 15% off, folks. Everyhomelife.com. Go there and you can get some great, affordable, and even some high-end products if you choose to, folks. Phil Davis, Ancestry Lands, ancestrylands.com, folks. Thanks for listening. Give this video a like and share. Leave a comment if you do agree or you've had some issues or you've seen robotics in certain areas where you work at. Let us know what you're experiencing, folks. This is Uncle Phil. I'm signing out. Take care. Peace.